This is the right time when you identify your gaps. What's the purpose of attempting MCQ? When you attempt an MCQ, what you need to do is you can get questions wrong because 4 months मैं आपके साथ रहूंगा इन gaps को rectify करने में. That is my promise. Hello everyone. I am Sajal Singh, the academic director offline of Sarrthi IAS, and we are in January and we are around 4 months away from the pre-exam. And now is a time when you should start identification of your gaps. You should start the identification process that what exactly is a real problem I am facing with respect to the prelims preparation, and you should start working on those gaps, because it should not be like that in April or in May you are able to identify your gaps, because in April and May you don't have that time to work on these gaps, right? So right now is the right time when you should work, or you should at least identify your gap and start working on it, right? So before we move further, I am also taking a offline seminar at Sarrthi IAS office in Karol Bagh, and that webinar or that seminar I'll be discussing the 4-month master plan for prelims preparation, right? So areas that I will be focusing upon will include the daily, weekly and monthly timetable that has worked with 450 of my students who have got ranks and 230 of the students who are giving interview this year. Also, how to make notes, effective revision strategy, high priority topics. All these things will be covered in that session. So along with 1 or 2 of my IAS IPS ranker, they will be part of this seminar. So there is a form that is there because it's an offline seminar, so seats are very limited, right? So ultimately there is a form that is there in the description box. So you have to fill the form and then a team will contact you for confirmation of seats, right? So attend that seminar and definitely you'll get a lot of inputs about prelims preparation. Moving further, I think I've already discussed in the earlier lectures also about this prelims offline program, which I will be heading, and I'm giving you a guarantee that if you attend the offline sessions and offline tests every day under my supervision, there's a great chance that you will crack the prelims. The reason being that the focus is not just on giving tests, the focus is on identification of gaps, right? Now, before we move further, the idea is that all of you must be attempting the MCQs, but it's not important to just attempt the MCQs. It is also important to do a scientific post-test evaluation, because what's the purpose of attempting MCQ? To identify the gaps. So that's why when you attempt an MCQ, what you need to do is you need to analyze yourself in this format, and that's how we also do it in Compass Prelims program. So whatever questions you get incorrect, you need to categorize them under these 6 gaps. So let's say you have attempted 50 questions or 70 questions, you got 30 wrong. Now 30 wrongs mein you have to exactly fill ki how many of your questions got wrong because of interpretation or silly mistake gap, right? How many of them got wrong because of awareness gap, that you were not aware. I'll actually come to these gaps also. Conceptual gap, revision gap, factual gap, guesswork or intuition gap, right? So with every test, if you start filling this report card, if you start filling these gaps, you will be able to track your progress, that with every test, how are you improving, right? So ultimately, the idea is that first we come to the awareness gap. So which means that you have not heard about the topic. For example, if this question was asked by the UPSC, so consider the following statement. Marsupials are not naturally found in India. Statement 2, marsupials can thrive only in montane grasslands with no predators. Which one of the following is correct in respect of the above statement, right? So ultimately, now many aspirants would have never heard about it because it was not part of any basic books as we know, right? It was not there very much in the basic sources. So you can get questions wrong because out of syllabus question can be asked in the test, right? Second way or second reason why you can get a question wrong and you can categorize that under awareness gap is that you have not heard about the topic or you have not studied the topic, but when you Google it, you actually found it that this topic was actually covered in the newspapers or it was part of the basic books, and somehow you missed it, right? So if it's the category one, then I don't think that there is a lot of problem because most of the aspirants will get this wrong, right? But if it's category two, then it means that your preparation is lacking. You have perhaps the sources that you have referred, you have to widen the sources or you have to widen your information, right? So that is the awareness gap. Second is the factual gap. So ultimately, if let's say a question is asked about exact data, if the question is asked about exact, let's say, mapping, right, in geography, right, or if the question is asked about, let's say, exact something related to art and culture, then if you get the question wrong, for example, in Buddhism and Jainism, the questions that are asked are very factual in nature. Now, if you get that question wrong, then it means that perhaps your facts are not that great. And again, this is not something which greatly needs to be concerned because again, factual things are something that you can actually, read with more reading, with more revision, you can rectify that. So for example, if you see this question, it's about Jhelum River passes through Wooler Lake, Krishna River directly feeds to Koleru Lake. It's all the statements are fact based, right? So definitely there could be chance that you can get these questions wrong. Or let's say this question was asked that consider the following. So, 15th Finance Commission, how many of them are used as a criteria, right? Then next is the conceptual gap. Now, this is something which is very important. If you are getting a question wrong because your conceptual understanding is poor, then you should be concerned that you have to work on your conceptual building, your basic building, because this takes time. You cannot just say that you identify that your questions are getting wrong because of conceptual gap in April. It cannot happen like that ultimately you can rectify that in 1 month. It takes time. Building concepts takes time. That's what I'm saying, that this is the right time when you identify your gaps, right? So for example, let's say the mind of makers of Constitution of India is reflected in which of the following, or let's say which one of the following is likely to be one of the most inflationary in its effect. So if you're not able to solve this, then it means your conceptual building is not right. And even if you revise the subject again and again, you'll still not be able to solve the question, right? Then revision gap. It means that patta chal raha hai. You have heard the concept. You've heard that in news, but exactly yaad nahi aa raha hai. So this could be part of the revision gap, that perhaps you have not revised the subject again and again. So that's why you're not able to recollect it. And there are various techniques of effective revision that we also, we also teach in this Compass program. So for example, to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India is a provision made in, ab yahan pe, you have studied the concept, but you're not able to identify whether it is part of the DPSP or it is part of the preamble or it is part of the fundamental duties, right? Then you have the interpretation or silly mistake gap. Again, this is a gap which has ruined the chances of so many aspirants. I have people who come to me that sir 60.6 marks se jo hai pre nahi hua because I got 2 of these questions wrong which I knew, but somehow I read it incorrectly and I got that wrong. So again, this is a gap that you can easily avoid. And finally, the intuition or guesswork gap, which we call as smart hacks, elimination, intelligent guessing, right? So ultimately, let's say you could have done that, but you did not use that, and because of that, you got the question wrong. That will come under the guesswork gap. For example, all these extreme statements, some, all, etc. So that is also the focus area of this Compass program कि gaps को अभी identify करो and 4 months मैं आपके साथ रहूंगा इन gaps को rectify करने में. That is my promise. So I think that's what I would like to again announce, that that I'll be doing a seminar and very soon on 4 months of prelims preparation. So the link is there in the description box also. And for joining the Compass program also, you can call the Sarrthi IAS office, and I am here, so you can also come and meet me. So this is all for today's video, and I'll be again back with a new video on prelims preparation. Thank you.